Hey everybody, Josh Sheridan here with the Barely Legal Podcast.
They demand my alter ego, but I won't go
I'm excited for today's show. We have Ray Roa, the editor for Creative Loafing, the music editor. And what's your current title now?
Editor-in-chief right now. That happened in like August.
I was trying to do my research on you and saw that there was kind of some label changes throughout from 2011 to present. I guess you started as freelance and then...
Yeah, I used to freelance for CL. I don't know, like I was doing it at the same time as I was doing it for the Times, and just kind of stuck around and got lucky that the music editor was moving to Seattle to work at The Stranger, and applied for that position, and that was 3 years ago. So
Well, I'm going to get there. I'm kind of starting in the middle. I'm going to go back to the beginning. So are you
Okay.
from Tampa originally?
pretty much, I was born in Hawaii.
Okay.
So I lived there for 3 years, and we moved to LA. Lived there till I was 11, but I went through puberty here, so
that's
much claim
That's
it.
where you're from, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like came of age here.
What island?
I was born on Oahu, in
Okay.
Honolulu, in the same hospital as Barack Obama.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so how long were
It's
you
like
in
my
Hawaii
claim to
before you
fame.
moved?
I was 3,
Okay.
so I don't remember it much. My uncle lives there. He owns some nightclubs. He owns a restaurant right now. So my uncle's been there the whole time. So
And what is Roa? What lineage is that?
I'm Filipino,
Okay.
but if I look in my family tree, or like, you know, the family reunion book, it's a lot of Spanish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe the Filipinos were a conquered people.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of Spanish last names. My legal name is Ramon Manuel Roa.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, you
so-
got a little bit of...
Super Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have family back in Hawaii that you go visit, or...
Haven't been back to Hawaii in probably 15 years,
Okay.
maybe. Last time I went was with my then girlfriend, who is my wife now. And yeah, I mean, my uncle still owned a nightclub back then, so it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was barely old enough to drink, so...
Yeah, you got to enjoy Hawaii as an adult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things you can partake in, but I probably would have gotten in trouble. It was like before smartphones and all that stuff, so
For sure.
better off.
So you said you came from Hawaii and then to where?
California, so Los Angeles. I lived in Canoga Park,
Okay.
which is in the valley.
Okay.
So was there till I was 11. Kind of,
What would that... But in the early 90s, or...
yeah. So it would have been 88, and for another 8 years, so like 96.
Oh, wow.
So I was there for like Rodney King and stuff. I mean, I
Oh,
was
wow,
a kid,
yeah.
and I remember that. I was just reading another book and it brought up Rodney King. And obviously, as a kid, you can't fathom what's really happening there. You know
Sure.
something weird and bad is going on. And as someone who's not black, you definitely don't know what's going on as a kid, you know. But I could tell that something was off
Right.
in my neighborhood. I mean, yeah.
That's
it was
crazy.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, the music scene was pretty intense there. I mean, I guess it's always intense there, but at that time, too, I mean...
Yeah, but at
late,
that time,
you weren't aware of it?
Lion King soundtrack,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
Elton John, stuff like that.
Was music a part of your life before you got into journalism, or did that kind of come after? Or?
Yeah, I think they really came together at the same time. I was always into music, so I would journal and stuff like that. I don't know where I picked up the journaling habit. I did it before I got to high school, but when I got to high school, I had a teacher, Robert Wiener, who's at Plant now, and he encouraged us to journal every day before English class. So I did that and took some journalism classes in community college after I failed out of USF, and that was that, man. Started freelancing, and
Do you have any siblings?
I have a younger brother who's the youngest. He's 6 years younger than me.
Where does he live?
He lives in Silver Lake right now.
Oh, wow.
Just moved there from Baltimore. He was living here. He works for the Jesuits, so he places volunteers in like immersive volunteer shifts. So it's like 15-month. I don't know what do they call them? Not retreats. I don't know what he calls them, but he matches kids interested in doing that kind of thing with the right community for them. So he did one of those, and he went to school in the Philippines.
Oh, wow.
So he was up in the mountains over there, like with the coffee farmers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like super remote.
Wow.
Coffee farmers can't read, so they're getting ripped off by the government and things like that. So you kind of serve those communities for 15 months. So that's what he does. He moves around.
That's really
Finally
cool.
landed in Silver Lake, where he's pretty happy.
So it's just the two of you?
And then I have a sister who's 3 years younger than myself,
Okay.
and she lives in St. Pete.
Okay. What'd she do?
Dude, it's crazy. She's always been a little crafty
Uh-huh.
and stuff, but she straight up does calligraphy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It is wild.
Well,
I mean,
you gotta
you
be
never know
crafty
what
to
people are going to become, you know. But
make a buck off of
it's
calligraphy.
it's wild. So she works at the Paper Seahorse and teaches there and does like freelance stuff, wedding invitations and stuff. It's crazy.
Well, there's seems to be kind of a running theme with all of you of kind of a free spirit kind of.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, did that come from your parents, or is that where's that from?
My parents always kind of let us do our own thing. I remember when I got to college, I went to get a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was like, "You probably don't want one of those."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're probably gonna max it out," but never told me not to. So it was always kind of like hands off. Here's what can happen.
Yeah.
Go do it if you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, they always encourage us to do whatever we want to do as long as we got our other stuff done. So
What do they do for a living?
my dad used to be a computer programmer. So in California, he was doing like C++, that old school.
Yeah.
So eventually, machines learned how to do his job. So now he's just kind of bouncing around jobs. It's pretty crazy to watch that kind of thing happen. My mom's a nurse.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesuit's not a cheap school to go to.
Yeah.
Were you the only one who went there, or did
I was. My dad went to Jesuit schools in the Philippines.
Okay.
So he was obsessed with sending me there. And I went to public school my whole life. I went to Booker T
Mm-hmm.
when it was a middle school, and he had me take this test. I went there. Passed the test. And I remember, I think my dad always kind of struggled to pay the bills there. It's not cheap,
Yeah.
When you're middle class, you don't exactly get the breaks.
The breaks, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, we could talk about that all day.
You're
so,
too wealthy to get a break, but
Yeah.
you're too poor to be able to afford it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Both my
Yeah.
parents were school teachers, so I occupied that.
Yeah, did you go
kind
to
of-
Jesuit too?
No, I grew up in St. Pete, so
Okay.
I went to St. Pete High, Northeast High. And,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I remember not being able to take my final exams because my dad still had like an outstanding bill.
Yeah.
So I finally got to take those. But it was the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Sure. Well, that's what taught you,
Yeah.
or at least got you interested in writing.
Yeah,
The
being
journal,
there
yeah.
and just like I don't know if being in an all boys environment was good or bad. People
Yeah.
try to like
Paint it
make
one
it
way or
more
the other.
dramatic than it is, but it was pretty low pressure. And when you're, in the Catholic setting, and especially the Jesuit setting, it's not like this crazy evangelical thing. I don't know how it is now, but when I was there, it's like still pretty liberal, like embracing homeless people, immigrants, things like that. Poor, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you basically exist to serve other people.
Yeah.
So I always like that about the Jesuit education. And then you meet in this town. God, if I could send my kid to Jesuit, I would.
Well, that's, I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the 5-year-old we've got in Catholic school. We started her out at a Jewish JCC, which she did, and I really like that because I'm not. Well, actually, I just recently found out that I'm 10% Jewish, which I tell all my Jewish friends about. But I never identified as having, the Jewish faith or culture in me, but we took her there because we thought the diversity and everything else. Now she's at the Catholic school, but especially with the daughter, I had some issues with putting her in the Catholic school because of, even today, as progressive as it's become, there still is a disparity in
Oh, yeah.
how men and women are treated. I want to raise a strong person,
Right.
daughter, female, that doesn't see limitations on what she can do or become. And it's kind of at odds with, some of the construct of that school. So it's something I think about a lot. And then, like with Jesuit, Plant High School, Academy, where my wife went, these are amazing schools, but a lot of the people that you see that come out of that are kind of spoiled, and
Yeah.
so I don't know. I guess a lot more of it has to do with the parenting than the school, but I concern myself with that because I know they're good schools, but
Right.
I worry a little bit about what kind of people we're turning out.
I think there's a good mix, and I think people are so different than who they end up becoming in high school. There are kids who I didn't talk to one lick in high school that I'm friends with now.
Right.
Michael Johnson, who you
Yeah.
might know.
Yeah,
We never talked, but now we do. And
yeah,
so it's high school is such a difficult time
yeah,
to kind of figure out who you are and what you believe in, and especially when you don't fit in, if you're not good at sports or things like that. I was always in band, so it's like, at least I had that group of friends. So
Do you play?
yeah, so in middle school at Booker T, I started playing trumpet.
Okay.
And then I moved to like baritone. I pretty much played anything brass with a valve.
Okay.
So by the time I like stopped playing in high school, I was playing valve trombone. So could never read bass clef.
Yeah.
So I always had to get stuff like transposed, my handheld in that sense. So
Were you into jazz at all?
Not then. Like I'll read books now, and the kids will be like, "Oh, I wanted to play jazz because I heard
Sure.
Miles Davis," and I never really got that good. The closest I got to like trying to listen to play by ear was like Beastie Boys stuff.
Yeah.
Typical
Yeah.
like pep rally.
You never got roped into a ska band?
Hell no. Well, I was never cool. I didn't have those friends.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there were some good bands in Jesuit, but I just didn't have those friends. So I would play with a few of my friends, and we'd record on whatever we were recording on back then.
Right.
But I was never in a band or anything like that. But I was always into bands.
Yeah.
So always at the old brass mug
Yeah.
on Fletcher, helping my friends sell tickets, which
When did you start going to shows? How old were you?
I don't know, 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any that stand out in your mind, like
Dude,
turning points in your
I
musical
was
taste?
obsessed. I mean, I took Greyhound buses to Jacksonville
Uh-huh.
to see bands like the Starting Line and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. It was just like obsessed. So anything I could do, if I could beg my dad to drive me to Orlando or anything, I would just go. By the time I was 19, my second job ever was at the Masquerade, which is now the
Sure.
Ritz,
Yeah.
working for Tom DeGeorge. So at that point,
You got to see everything that
it was
came
like
through.
my dream job already.
Right.
Like at that point, like, we saw the Killers a month ago or something. I remember seeing the Killers there in like 2004.
Did you see them at the Orpheum when they came through?
Yeah.
Was that crazy?
It was wild.
That it's like you two playing in your closet or something.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I was watching a soccer game the other day, and they were at Wembley, and the Killers are going to play Wembley, I think, over the summer. So it's
I mean,
wild.
they're not quite as popular as they were for that first album, but still, I mean, when I
Dude.
heard they were playing, because I was at the Orpheum like the week before for the Melvins or
Yeah, the Melvins
or
with Red
High
Cross,
on
maybe.
Fire. And my buddy, who's my trainer, actually, he's one of the bouncers at the Orpheum, and so
Okay.
he's like, "Yeah, the Killers are coming." I was like, I think you got that wrong. It's probably something else." He's like, "No, I think it's the Killers." When it was announced, I was like, "Holy shit, that's
Yeah, it
crazy."
was crazy, man. It just happened. I think they made that announcement on a Friday or something. But I think the Killers do that often,
Yeah,
where they'll play like a small show, and you can tell that like Brandon's totally into it. So
Yeah.
it was rad.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So you were at 16 driving around Florida trying to find
Not
shows?
even driving because I didn't have a car.
Okay.
So I think my parents got me a car when I was like 18. They let me drive their old Sentra at one point. I took it out one night without glasses and drove it through a retention
Oh
pond,
my god.
in and out of one. So I was like, I'm going in. And
That's
I was like,
funny.
I better get out. So I just floored it. But so I was always taking the bus.
Yeah.
So even in college, I went to USF for 3 semesters. I took the bus.
Yeah,
Took the bus, took a skateboard. When I first started dating my girlfriend, who's my wife now,
yeah.
my main mode of transportation was a skateboard,
That's awesome though.
and the bus. So
Yeah.
my friends bought me a car
yeah,
because I got sick of picking me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just taking buses. It was crazy.
but there's not like there's I could probably name like 3 shows that were like, I mean, I've seen.
Dude, I couldn't tell you. Like I remember going to see like Dashboard, and that was powerful for me, or whoever. But I just always wanted to be
Just around
like
it.
at a show.
Yeah.
And like still to this day, those are like, even when it's a shit show,
Yeah.
it's still nice to be like out in front of a band, even if the crowd's talking. Because I bitch a lot about people talking.
Oh my god.
know,
Have you been to a show at the Tampa Theater?
Oh yeah, well the Tweety one wasn't that bad, but there was
Iron and Wine.
Iron Wine was terrible.
Insane. I was
Yeah.
about to walk upstairs and
Yeah.
beat the shit out of whoever it was. that was
Yeah.
talking. And it's probably all doctors and lawyers because that's
Who knows,
kind of.
dude? It's weird. I went to Newport Folk Festival over the summer. This is an outdoor festival.
Yeah.
Tweety played that same set
Yeah.
outside main stage in this huge field in front of a fort,
Yeah.
and there's like nobody talking.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they have the beer off,
Yeah.
like in the back of each area, and there's only 2 areas to drink beer. But I don't know what it is. People talk here, and
I mean, I guess it's okay, but my history, more often than not is heavier, harder, or louder music. So, it's 1 out of every 10 shows is a little bit more of a quieter, folky type
Right,
of thing. So usually you just can't hear it. I mean, you could be at Slayer and people could be screaming in your ear and
Right.
you just don't even have any idea about it. But Iron and Wine, I about lost it. And then again at Tweety, I was just like, but then I was like, I got to chill out and just, enjoy it for what it is. But I'm almost embarrassed for the town. I'm like, these people aren't going to want to come back because it's not going to be a favorable experience for
Yeah.
them. But
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say, man. I don't know what it's like to be up there. I've been on stage a handful of times in my life, and all I can remember is not seeing anybody. I mean, you understand, like
Kinda
you
black
can't-
out.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like the light, right? Like
Sure.
But I'm sure you could hear people talking, like when they're talking and stuff.
Especially when they're like heckling or calling out songs or.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just like normal. You know what? I used to do that. I don't know why. You get so excited and you want to be a part of something
Yeah.
and you don't know how to express yourself. So you call for songs or you try to tell a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you tell a good one and and the person on stage responds, then your bad behavior is like reinforced.
Yeah.
So I've done it before. I mean, we've all been there. I interviewed the Staves and at Straz, and I called out at Straz, like called out their favorite whiskey.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that's our favorite whiskey." So it's like just reinforcing bad behavior.
Yeah,
You should never do that.
Yeah,
but
every
what are
now
you
and
gonna
again
do?
it works out in your favor. I saw Jim Jeffries at Tampa Theater, and someone called out like a part of New Zealand that's like, he's like, that would be like me being in New York and you calling out a town in California. And he went on this like 30-minute just blast of this.
It's rude. I mean, it's rude, but you just don't realize it, dude. Like until somebody tells you, you just don't know.
Right.
Otherwise, and I don't know that we have like that. Oh, we should have that concert education here and stuff. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I go back and forth.
So your first job, was it writing or
my first job ever was at Adventure Island, 16.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I worked there as much as I could, making $6 an hour. I thought I was the man, making $9 an hour when I got overtime. And
were you a lifeguard or what did you do?
Shallow water guard.
Nice.
So certified
Bet you saw
up
some
to
stuff
4
there.
feet. Yeah, it was disgusting.
Oh,
but it was
sure.
a great job. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better job.
Have you seen that show? What's it called, with John Goodman and the guy from? They play like pastors for a mega church on HBO. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, anyways, the first episode, it's John Goodman, his son who is Eastbound and Down guy.
Yeah.
And then the youngest guy, you've seen it, but anyway, they're baptizing people. And then as the screen pulls away, you figure out that they're baptizing people in a wave pool after hours at a park. And someone accidentally turns the wave on, and all these people that are waiting in line to get baptized
just get
getting blown
out
all over the place by the waves in the wave pool. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
So you did Adventure Island.
Island, and then God, I failed out of school, and then
why was that? Were you just
I think I was too. I mean, these are all excuses, right? But like, I think I was too close to home.
Yeah.
I was still doing laundry at home. I was squatting at a friend's apartment. You know what I mean? You're like too close to home. I was always at school. Like I reffed intramurals, did like all the extracurricular stuff.
Yeah.
But I just never went to class, and
Yeah.
I never dropped classes. I would just fail them. So I just like flamed out in 18 months.
But then you went to HCC after?
I went immediately to HCC. I mean, I definitely was disappointed in myself, and went to HCC, finished there. There was journalism and radio there. So, and then I started freelancing, and then.
Were you keeping up the journaling all throughout that period of time?
Yeah, I really didn't stop journaling until about 2 or 3 years ago.
So you can go back now and.
I have a box full of them underneath my bed, so if like the house burns down, I mean, I don't know now that I have a kid what my priorities are, but
Sure.
that would have been the thing that I would have taken. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just obsessed with like trying to figure out how I feel by writing it down.
Well, it's similar with talk. I found
Yeah.
with conversation. It's kind of therapy. Writing, talking to people. You sometimes I think you uncover things that are hiding in your psyche by kind of going through it intellectually, whether it's writing or talking. So I definitely get that. So the freelance, how does that work? Do you just start submitting articles, or
so it all kind of happened at the same time. There was a magazine called Reacts here. I don't know if you remember that. But this guy Joel Cook worked on it, Joe DeCunto.
Okay.
And in Reacts' dying days, I asked to like review some albums, and Joe DeCunto was the editor at the time there. He would assign me 2 albums a week.
So he'd pick them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was great because he has great taste. Some of them I'd like, some of them I wouldn't. I'd review those. I mean, and then my first interview was Passion Pit.
Oh wow.
So that was cool, and I just started to keep going. At the same time, I'm taking courses in school, for newspaper and working on the school newspaper and actually taking English and linguistics and stuff like that.
Right.
So, and then I don't know what happened. I think I just submitted like a Bob Marley article about tribal style to Crave Loafing, and that worked out. And I started doing that. And Jay Cridlin, who was he was an editor at TBT at the time, asked me to do live music roundups for them. And I think I did that for 6 years.
What did that entail?
Basically just like coming up with the calendar for the week,
Right.
picking 8 shows out of those that are the most important ones. And I always try to keep them varied. I've always had a deep love of the local scene. So So I did that forever until I got a full-time job at Creative Loafing.
And was that in
That was 3 years ago.
2016?
3 or 4 years ago. I think I started my fourth year in August.
And so what did that mean as far as your day to day?
Well, I left my job at McKay Advertising, which was an advertising firm.
What'd you do for them?
I did social and some content stuff. I only came into that because I was doing social for Gasparilla Music Festival.
Right.
I only came into social at Gasparilla Music Festival because I was doing reacts in this new website, Suburban Apologist, that Joel Cook had, and I did that for. God,
I saw you did
don't know.
Consequence of Sound too.
Yep, Consequence of Sound. I forgot that part. I did that congruently with the times and stuff, and I think I stopped doing Consequence when I started doing Sub App.
Mm-hmm.
So Consequence would have you do 2 stories a day. They had a really good oiled up machine. I can't imagine what it's like now. So
I read a bunch. I know they're one of my daily reads.
Dude,
so.
they're always on top of everything, and those guys that run that, have always been great.
They're not local though. They're
Chicago. Yeah, at one point I think they were Chicago and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But Alex Young and Michael Rothman there who run that site are great. Jeremy Larson came on at the same time I did. He's a reviews editor at Pitchfork now.
Oh wow.
So it's really cool, man. I mean, I got lucky, Writing is a privilege, like it takes time and you need a certain level of freedom, and I didn't have any kids or I didn't have to take care of my parents and stuff like that. So.
Do you look back on where you were, say, 10 years ago and now, and the improvement in your abilities as far as writing?
I always feel like I write the same as I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I do, maybe I don't.
Are you critical of yourself or no?
I hate myself,
Yeah.
I think, like a lot of people. I don't know if I hate myself, but
no, but
the second like you send something or the second I walk out of this podcast, I'm just going to be like,
think of 10 things that
all the
pissed you
dumb
off.
shit I said. Like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean,
I had a judge tell me once, he said the best closing argument you're going to give is on the ride home from court after the trial. You're just going to think of everything you wanted to say to the jury.
Or you can beat yourself up, or you can, like, go back and do it again. And hopefully that you're doing it better next time. So I try not to stay down too much. But,
have you become a student of journalism in general? I mean, right now in the political atmosphere that we're in, I mean, if we're seeing what front the war is being fought on, I would say journalism has got to be the tip of the spear,
I'm very a big fan of the truth.
Yeah.
Obviously, Creative Loafing is a very left-leaning magazine.
Right.
But we still haven't printed anything that wasn't true.
Right.
We don't withhold things because it fits or doesn't fit our
Your
narrative,
yeah.
right? Like, you have to approach life objectively, and that's the best you can do. And it's harder with a small staff to get in deep and do a deep story. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you can, you do, and you tell as much of the truth as you can. So I'm a huge fan of that. Yeah, I mean,
do you think the cause is lost in that way, or do you think we can right the ship?
I think there'll always be a need for journalists.
Yeah.
The day that, people already don't believe journalists in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I really do believe that most journalists, if not all, have the public's best interests in mind. Yeah, like they're miserly and they're angry, it seems, all the time. But it's because the job of journalism is to hold powerful people accountable.
Yeah.
Like I've said things like, life is not an Instagram filter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's gritty and it's confusing and it's not black and white. So you have to go there. It's not popular. It certainly doesn't get web hits, but you have to do that kind of stuff and do the other stuff, like the clicky stuff.
Well, I think part of it that is that almost everybody's a journalist now. I mean, not truly, but in some ways, because everybody's got an outlet to tell their narrative, their story, whatever. And a lot of these people aren't, don't understand the power of what they say, or
don't say.
Yeah. No, I mean, you see these arguments, and it's just like you say, they pick the facts that support the narrative without giving the whole thing.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm not going to say it won't happen, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but I just don't see how we go back from here. I mean,
it's hard if social media doesn't change or correct itself in some sense, then people can just continue to yell into the echo chamber, as they say, and they can keep affirming the things that they believe.
But if you go back in history and see if you can control the information that the public's getting,
100%.
that's
That's what's beautiful. If you're an elected official, right, and I'm not trying to say that all elected officials are shady people, but right now with like less and less journalists to dig through public records and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff like probably get flying under the radar.
Oh,
You know?
I talk about this all the time with my music friends. Is every time, who was the Ryan Adams? He got in trouble for all that stuff. But I was like, Bowie, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, like all these people that are just
John Lennon.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he supposedly beat his wife. Just horrible stuff that if social media was around back in that day,
Oh yeah.
these legacies would be, not as inflated as they are. So I struggle with that, because I like Ryan Adams. I like Woody Allen.
Ryan Adams is one of my Heartbreaker is probably my second favorite album.
Did you see him when he was at GMF?
Obsessed with him.
Yeah, great show.
And I interviewed Phoebe Bridgers because
she
was obsessed with her too. She was on that tour with him, and yeah, dude, I remember asking her about Ryan Adams before I interviewed her, and like she was kind of like, "Oh, Ryan's not putting out my album." I kind of got like a weird sense, and then her album came out, and then I was like, "Oh, this is weird. Is Ryan Adams a creep?" And then this stuff and then I read another interview with the person who I'll leave unnamed because the interview that she talked about it in was deleted after the Ryan Adams thing.
Oh wow!
Because she was like, I guess Ryan Adams would make a habit. Well, we read it all of like offering to help produce people.
Yeah.
So
he's a little Harvey Weinstein.
It's fucking crazy, man. Like that was, I mean,
did that impact your listening to him?
Yeah, for sure. But I think what you get away from is like at that point we lament that, oh, I can't listen to Ryan Adams, but then you forget that there's like how many people that were sexually abused by a man with power. Like like at the end of the day you have to boil it down to that and say, well, fuck, I mean, what's it matter about Ryan Adams' music at this point? There's women who are taken advantage of. So
well, it's the same with Louis C.K. I was a huge Louis C.K. fan, and I'd always kind of heard that thing beforehand, and was just like, well, whatever, I don't know about it, and then it blew up, and it just I can't, it just sounds different to me now.
It's tough, man. Ryan Adams, those are my favorite songs to play on the guitar still, on piano, like you know what I mean. So those songs are solid, but
Morrissey.
Even Pine Grove and stuff like that. Well, Morrissey's like, did he sexually abuse people?
No, but I mean, he's politically he's become insane, and he goes really far with the animal rights stuff. Like he won't play at a venue unless it's all vegan and all this other stuff. And, but I mean, the Smiths, like that's
right.
Christmas carols. I mean, it's so ubiquitous in everybody's music catalog.
Nothing's black and white. Like everything's complicated. Yeah. So you can't. It is hard to just draw that line. I refuse to do that. Yeah.
So I think I started to ask you, and I know you said you quit your job, but I didn't hear what the day-to-day entailed. When you got the position in 2016, what did that mean?
So I was already like helping out with Music Week, which is our like weekly music rundown, writing the occasional feature story. So at the time, our staff was about double what it is now.
Oh, really?
So I really could focus on just music, and we'd write music. That's what I would do, and it was awesome. Like write about local stuff, try to figure out a lead story, either sign it out to somebody or do it myself. Quite often I did it to myself. I was obsessed with saving the paper money.
Yeah.
Which I probably shouldn't have been, just because I should have delegated more.
Yeah.
So I wrote a lot of the stuff myself. And
so like the Navy, you got to spend the money to show that you need the money, or?
No, I don't know what it was. I think I just always want to be like a good employee in a way.
Yeah.
And so I sensed that the paper wanted to save money, so I tried to save them as much money as I could. But I don't know, dude. And then you get caught up in a pattern, and you just keep doing it, and you keep doing the same thing. So but then staff cuts, we got sold, and then we had another cut. So now we're skinny, but we do really well for what we have. We have an amazing team of freelancers.
How many people?
There's 3 people on staff at Creative Loafing.
Okay.
So it's myself, as editor-in-chief. Jenna Ryman Snyder is our food and drink editor.
Okay.
Colin Wolf is our digital editor. So those are 3 daily staff writers who handle all that. But then we have a lot of freelancers.
Is the office in Ybor?
Ybor. Well, we just moved.
Because weren't you like right across from Scientology? Or
They were our landlords.
Yeah. How was that?
You know what? Like all the Scientologists you talk to are super nice.
Yeah.
But then like you read the news and you watch, stuff and you say, whoa, like this is crazy. I definitely thought our office was bugged. I was assured it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
I was a prosecutor over in Pinellas County, and every now and again we'd get a case where the victim was a member of Scientology, and we would want to have them come in to take a statement from them or do the deposition, and they would always just say, "No, we'll handle this internally.
Yeah.
We're not gonna like." They don't want
I
anybody.
mean, that's a
going
red
on the
flag
record.
in itself, right?
Yeah. And a friend of mine, Luke LaRoe, he's a pretty famous attorney over in Pinellas. He does a lot of constitutional law. He was Redner's attorney for everything. He fought Scientology, and he's actually coming on the show, so I'm going to ask him some of his stories because he has some pretty crazy stuff. But you had that like loft space, didn't you?
Yeah, it's really cool. So half of it's our office space, half
Yeah.
of it's our event space. So we have an event person who sells that space, helps coordinate weddings and whatever, art shows. It was cool, super versatile room. But it's like the same thing over. So now we're above Hall and Franklin, and we have even more
really?
space. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So now we have a ballroom, and then like another side studio.
Well, God, you're where you live. Do you bike
Yeah,
to work?
it's pretty. I'm pretty spoiled. I mean, I was already close to work, but now,
That's rad.
yeah, I could walk there if I wanted to.
How long have you lived in this area?
My wife bought our house here 13 or 14 years ago.
Oh wow, so you've been through the evolution.
Yeah, her realtor definitely did not want her to live here.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I mean, it's what she could afford.
right,
It was a nice house. It's actually a newer construction,
right.
built in the older style. Not, right now it's looking crazy in here, dude. It's
Yeah.
looking like West Chase or the suburbs. But that's like a whole nother permitting issue. But yeah, dude, we got super lucky.
Yeah.
Like, I love living here.
Well, it's so funny because we moved into this office about 2 years ago, and when I moved in, I started joining all the local Facebook pages, and
Mhm.
I always laughed because every night is who stole my bike, what's that helicopter over,
Yeah.
and
Dude, you live in a city.
yeah,
Like,
well, it's that's what's cool about it. Do you know Justin Ricky? He lives across the
I
street.
do.
Yeah, so I talked to him a little bit about it, and you've kind of got the world at your feet here. You've got everything from
Oh, yeah.
new business to poverty to halfway house to
Yeah.
restaurants popping up, the graffiti scene, the brewery stuff. I mean, it's kind of where life is happening in Tampa. It seems like
Yeah.
right now. So
That's what I love about it. I
Yeah.
mean, like, people want to say things about that halfway house or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, when I look at the halfway house, I see a building full of people that probably aren't going to get to live anywhere else
that are getting help. Yeah,
that are getting help.
Yeah.
As troublesome or whatever, however you want to perceive it. Like, hello, like, this is life. Like,
yeah,
and like, we're lucky that that's there. We're lucky that service exists. They could probably stand to have some more money
right.
to take more people in or serve those people better.
Yeah,
So that's one thing I fear for this neighborhood. I don't want it to lose, not its edge or anything, but like, just like what life like really is. You know what I mean? Like, life is challenging every day.
Justin was telling me
know?
that they were looking at putting like condos right there.
They can do, you mean where the halfway house
Yeah.
is? Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, I just don't know that, like, the way I go all day, like,
Go all
talk
day.
treat, like,
Yeah.
poor people and homeless people, and God, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, how, why, like, who are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have a kid now, and I'm still not scared for the kid, right? Like,
Yeah,
so I don't know, man. Sometimes I get upset with the way the neighborhood stuff goes, when the way people talk about other people.
right.
But now I'm talking crap about them.
Well, I mean,
So,
yeah. Well, it's funny because I live near MacDill Air Force Base. I live in Ballast Point, so my drive to work is Bayshore through downtown, go under the interstate, and then up Florida until I
Yeah.
make a left. So it's I remember there's a Simpsons episode where Bart's like skateboarding and he's in his neighborhood, and literally when he crosses over the railroad tracks, it's like
yeah.
shootouts and
Yeah.
pawn shops and
Dude,
all this.
it's a rough neighborhood. Like, right across the street, Robles is.
But I just mean it's weird. I get to see kind of the full spectrum financial. I'm Bayshore, the nicest houses
Oh,
in
yeah.
Tampa, and then Florida, which is just like
Yeah.
people that are down and out, and it's interesting. My wife's family, a lot of them are more conservative, and sometimes I'll have conversations with them about do you think ethics or morals come into play at a certain point in how much money you're making? You look at like Jeff Bezos or some of these other people who are making squillions of dollars. It's like at a certain point, like,
You got to screw somebody over, you would think.
well, number one and number two, how can you spend all that money? You just,
Right.
I mean, I got kind of some heat for it, but I was at a gas station on Dale Mabry, and there was a Lamborghini with a Toys for Tots wrap on it. And I was like, that something about that doesn't seem like it makes sense to me. But then it was like, oh, well, there was a parade, so they must have driven in the parade and
Right.
raised money. I was like, well, I guess okay, but
Dude, see, that's the thing. Like, it's okay for it to be okay. Like it's
Yeah.
okay for a rich person to give a lot of money to like charitable causes, but that doesn't mean you're not allowed to talk about wealth
Yeah.
and you can do both. Like,
Right. Yeah.
like you don't get a pass because you're charitable. It's not cut and dry like that.
Sure.
It's
No.
super complicated. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like
There's
with
that journalist coming. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like you have to talk about that stuff, like the
Right.
Water Street stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what is affordable housing these days? So it's stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not cut and dry, man. Like, so
So when you started the new position in 2016, it seemed like you were indicating your writing started to go beyond just the music.
yeah, I mean, when you have more time to write, what's crazy is you have less time to read,
Yeah.
depending on the
Is
pace.
that an important part of it?
I've always believed that you should probably read like 5, 6, or 7 times more than you're writing.
Really?
I mean, it's like good stuff in, good stuff out.
Yeah, you
right?
gotta-
So it's like good music. You're gonna write shit songs if you're listening to shit music.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're obsessed with the songs that you're obsessed with, your songs are gonna start to sound like them, especially if you're practicing them on your instrument or whatever. The best is when you play a different instrument than what you're learning.
Right.
Because then you just find all these other little wrinkles. So if it's not coming in, there's no way what's coming out is going to be any good.
Well, I also think it's good to sharpen your blade on different stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Some of the best music is influenced by other types of music,
Oh, yeah.
that aren't down the middle.
Or just like other types of art or even a different part of life in general. That's why I love listening to podcasts about like stuff that I'm not even into.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the great things with Nicole when she started marketing with us is I said, I don't want to look at other law firms and how they market because then you're just going to be in that pack of law firms. So
Yeah.
what do bars do? What do bands do? What do restaurants do? What do
Right.
whatever do? And, not that we're breaking any new ground. We're not the first, but trying to kind of get into a different world. What I love when we moved here, seeing all the murals that were being done at the different offices, and that's how I kind
Right,
of first
dude. When
learned
you
about
guys painted that mural, I was like, somebody's doing an Elliott Smith mural. This is crazy.
Well, I
you
was
know?
worried like I was going to get a cease and desist letter or something, but
No way, dude. I was like, this is wild. Like, who is this?
well, yeah. So my wife and I, we went to Stetson and we would study in the library, and we would put on Elliott Smith, Sufjan Stevens, some of the
Yeah.
other things that you can kind of have in the background.
Yeah.
And so it kind of had meaning for me there. But the Aaron Tulo, who's the artist from St. Pete, we unveiled it on MLK Day. So the quote, it's funny, the quote is supposed to be
Well, I didn't know that it wasn't MLK either
Right.
until I wrote the story.
Sure,
Yeah.
and I was like, shit, but I
Yeah.
like it, and I think it fits the thing.
Yeah.
But then the girl is actually a little girl who's a friend of his daughter over in St. Pete. So I just thought that was kind of a cool mixture of things. But in any event, getting back to what we were talking about is I think it's important in the creative process to look outside of what the nature of the thing is that you're doing so that it can kind of mutate into something else. And I think, you could probably speak on this more than I can, but with music, when I was in high school, there was hard rock, rap music, and pop music. I mean, it was kind of, those were your three choices. And now, like, there's a million different subgenres of things, that have just been influenced, morph from this, that, and the other. And so you can't even talk about a musical type anymore. I don't even think it holds water. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, but
Dude, yeah. That's exactly how it should be. And even more than that, it's just like whatever sounds or like, like music. It could just be a sound. It used to be about songs for me. Just like, what is the song?
Mhm.
How is this song built? Oh, I love this song because it's a great song.
right.
Right? Like, this is a great songwriter. But then there's textures and samples and the cadence of a song or the tempo, or if the tempo changes, how long, when do they cut it off? You know what I mean? Like, so there's so many things, and it's just like, and you get attached to all this. There's not enough time, and there's not enough space in your brain to like fully receive and absorb everything.
Yeah, it's endless.
Yeah.
My wife always remarks, because of how much I listen to music and how much I consume. I cannot recite words to almost any song. I cannot. She's like, I know you listen to this band or that song endlessly. I was like, I know, but when I'm listening to it, I'm not really listening to the words. I'm kind of just in the mood of it, and so I guess it offers different things for everybody too.
It's all about melody, and like, if I can learn the song on guitar, then I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This now for me, it's seeming like, and I don't know if it's because I'm starting to get more into the local music scene than I had been.
Mm-hmm.
A buddy of mine I'm going to call him Michael J. Wolf, but because he likes to
Works in the field.
Yeah, works in the field. He's actually our theme music too. But
Oh, awesome.
yeah, through him I've become friends with a lot of Dave Decker and some of these other
Decker's
people.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on and some of the other people, but I don't know if it's because I'm becoming more interested in the scene, but it seems like Tampa's really picking up as far as the music scene.
I
Would you
feel like
agree, or-
it's always been there. So
Yeah.
I was really lucky when I linked up with guys like Joel Cook and Joe DeCunto. They were obsessed with local music being made here in Florida, and just like what it was here.
Mhm.
The bars, the people, the artists, the visual artists, like that was everything. And I remember seeing Wolfface for the first time, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. It was like, and they still never get old, and it's like, that's like speaks to the quality of, and that's just one band
Yeah.
with a freaking gimmick. Like,
Yeah.
they have a shtick and it doesn't get old,
Right.
because the music's good, and the music's, to me, in my opinion, has always been good.
Yeah.
Sure, it comes and goes in waves. There are people who survive each wave, people like Billy Summer, Sean Kyle, who you had on, Rebecca Pulley. But there's always like somebody in the interim or new. There's always a new band. Like, the best part about bands is that they don't last.
Yeah.
Like they happen, they're either good or they're bad, but those people stay in the scene and they do something different, and you're lucky to listen to whatever they're into, because they have, whatever you want to call it, the audacity to go out and play it and
Right.
record it and put it on Bandcamp, and you're lucky to catch them at a time when they're experimenting with this thing, with this group of people. Got it on the tape, or in the case of, Wolfface going with Dan Byers, and Dan Byers over at Rock Garden, dude, is like, dude, everything he touches is awesome.
Well, I was,
You
I was, when they played up at the hostel, or not the hostel, whatever the VA place was by Busch Gardens. One of my favorite bands, Mastodon, and he was like, Troy may be at the show on that night because he's over recording vocals for Kvelertak over in Sweden, and he was telling me how Dan was recording all that and had recorded a lot of their other stuff, and I was like, in St. Pete, I had no idea that was happening over there. I've imagined that they were
with the Mira program and like at SPC.
Yeah.
Like, I think Camila Cabello was like practicing on the day she was here with Taylor
Yeah,
Swift.
didn't you?
Yeah, so you
Nicole
were there
ran
for that
into-
session?
No, she ran into her at Oxford Exchange with who's the boyfriend.
Oh,
Shawn Mendes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So, like, there's so many great spaces. Morris Sound, like, the metal that's come out of there. And I think at a time, Destiny's Child was recording in there, like, and now Tom Morris has a new space. Like, there are so many, like, recordings that happen here.
Well,
And, like,
plus you have, this is something that I've always found interesting is, so death metal kind of starts here. There's a big Latin music scene here.
Yeah.
The hip hop has always kind of had a, and such disparate things that are all kind of starting here and kind of existing, in the same community. I just think that's so rad and speaks to kind of the diversity of the community, diversity of the music scene.
Diversity of, like, Florida and Tampa in general.
Well, for
because
sure.
you go to any Walmart, you're like, every kind of person in the world is here, and, like, really, like, every kind of music, dude. There's so many good bands.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always thought they've always been there.
Who are your favorites?
It kind of fluctuates. Like, right now, we just did our local music roundup for the year, and, we asked a bunch of people who we like or who they like. And
Yeah.
a lot of it was pretty congruent. So, like, Fever Beam, I've always liked Sammy Hughes. Stony Hoop this year was a big one for me. Lewis Jr. Span Speakeasy. Glove is always good.
Yeah.
Brother Cephas, probably my favorite band.
How many
Hands
shows
down.
do you go? Do you go to a lot of shows?
I used
or-
to go to, like, at least 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah.
The
That
past,
changed when you got married?
No, it stayed
That
the
changed when
same.
you had a
So
kid?
so far, the
Yeah.
kid's like 22 years old or something.
Yeah.
Or 22 days old.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he's all grown up now.
Yeah.
We're good.
You look amazing for your age.
Yeah. Dude. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna change. Like I said, like, that is where I feel the most okay.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna continue to try to do that. My hope is that I keep this job long enough to take my kid to some shows.
Sure.
And like experience shows with him. But yeah, like 1 or 2 a week, I would average. I don't know what it's gonna be like when I get back. But I love going to see music.
When you get back.
So I'm on paternity leave right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he was born December 4th, and my company gives me 6 to 8 weeks. 8
Oh,
weeks for a
wow.
cesarean section, which my wife had, but I don't think I can take 8 weeks off of work.
Wow,
You
that's
know?
awesome.
It's crazy.
I took 2 days off.
Yeah,
you
isn't
know?
it wild? Like,
it is, yeah.
and I've tried my best to not work.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's got to be hard.
it is.
Yeah.
But I have like there's a really good team over there, and
Mm-hmm.
we brought one of our old interns back to work temp for us, and she's doing a really good job. Jenna is great. Colin does a really good job. So, and everybody's okay with me leaving. So, and I'm not gonna get this time back with my kid. You know,
man,
so
yeah, I mean, that's a whole other interview with you. You know, I just soak them up. And what's kind of interesting about it for me is I lost both my parents in the past year. So I've had 2 kids in the past
Yeah.
5 years and lost both my parents. And it really messes with your view of what's important in life, kind of how you spend your time, you know. And you mentioned the shows. And for me, the shows are my medicine. Like, I love it. But what's funny is, normally in a crowd, I hate it. Like, I don't want to be in a crowded area at all. I have like a phobia of that. But when there's music playing, I
You
don't
can
mind
deal
it
with
at all, and it's helping me. And one of the things I always joke with my friends that I'm spending my 40s doing all the stuff that I couldn't do, and when I was 13, my wife's like, how many pairs of Jordans are you gonna buy? Or like,
Right,
what,
right.
are you're buying skateboards? Are you skateboarding much? You're buying.
Right.
I was just like, well, I didn't get to do any of this stuff when I was young, but with the shows, I lived in St. Pete, so Janice Landing was kind of the main place that you would go, and I could mark different periods of my life.
Oh yeah,
by,
dude. I mean, Pearl Jam played there in what?
I
Like
saw Pearl Jam there. I
94
saw
or something?
Guar there a few times. The
Crazy.
biggest show, and I think I might have even told you about this at some point, like on messaging or something, but I can't even tell you how many shows I've been to. But Butthole Surfers at the Florida State Fairgrounds.
Damn.
That was, to this day, the one that is the bellwether for all shows I heard off of it. Afterward, Gibby Haynes comes out with a bra on his head, lit his hand on fire for the whole first song.
Wow.
And the second song had a 12 gauge with blanks in it and was shooting beach balls over the crowd of people.
Wow.
So this is 91.
So this is at the
92.
fairgrounds. This isn't at Fort Homer. This isn't that
The
Fort
fairgrounds
show,
where
right?
they do
Wow.
like Christmas shows now.
Wow.
And it was Helmet, Stone Temple Pilots, and Butthole Surfers.
Wow.
But you think about how many like fire codes and like
Oh, yeah.
violations, like none of that would ever happen now. But that show just marked me as a
That's perfect.
fan forever. Yeah. So,
That's awesome.
did you get a new position in 2019? Did I see that too?
Yeah, so we had some staff changes, and I moved into a position that was occupied by Scott Harrell, who was the editor at Reacts when I would read Reacts.
Yeah.
So, like me, when I first started reading about music here, Scott was the person whose words I was reading, who like inspired me to do the thing that I do.
Right.
So yeah, kind of moved in to his role to try to continue to put the book out and build a alt weekly that can survive in 2020.
When you say put the book out, are you talking about?
I'm talking about the issue. So we still do a
Okay.
print issue every week.
Yeah.
So I love that. I mean, it might be archaic, but I love the fact that we have 2 very different readerships. One that picks up the paper every week, and one that reads us online.
So I was going to ask you aspirations. I mean, do you see a book in your future? Do you see writing about a different area? I mean, have you thought that far?
I mean, I would write a book. The closest I got to finishing a book was when I lost like 15 pounds eating chicken wings and drinking vodka. So I was writing like a health book
Yeah.
on how to lose weight, drinking vodka and eating chicken
Yeah.
wings. And it's pretty close, but I was like, you know what, this is obscene. Like, but I would love to write a book one day, but it's just like you're doing so much other stuff.
Right.
I'd like to first write some more good stories, tell better stories about people who live here.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about the Alt Weekly is that we're tasked with telling stories that the daily paper's not telling.
Right.
People that are even outside of who's getting attention in the paper.
Right.
Really unheard stories and unappreciated people like, who deserve to be written about because their stories are compelling and they touch people. And like, that guy Skunk
Mm-hmm.
who plays guitar. So Justin Garcia at M&F freelances.
I want to
for
get
us.
him in here. I want to talk to
Yeah,
him.
dude, tell him. Justin.
Do you have a way
come
to
on.
reach him?
Yeah, I'll
I'll
connect
hit
you.
you
on
up.
email.
I would love to have him in.
Are you talking about Skunk?
The guy who plays the guitar
Yeah.
right at the corner of
Yeah,
Florida?
I'll get you with Justin because Justin did the story for CL about
I
Skunk.
saw that. I
Yeah.
drive home and I videotape him and I talk to him.
Yeah,
and-
dude, he's cool, man. I mean, and that's another thing. It's like people will look at people like that and be like, "Oh, why is he homeless?" Blah blah blah. There's so much more like going on, and that's why I love working for the Alt Weekly.
Yeah.
I love Alt Weeklies. Like I love them to death. Like, you know, they're disappearing.
Yeah.
But I love them, dude. Like, I love the Alt Weekly so
Yeah.
much. I've been reading it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
What does your wife do?
my wife's a NICU nurse over at Tampa General.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, she just moved into a different part of the hospital.
They
But
say we all marry our moms, so you.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I got lucky with my wife, man. She's awesome, and she had a boyfriend when I met her, and I don't know. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
You know, like she's great, and
That's awesome.
yeah, having a kid is, you know, having a kid, and it's wild. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Little boy, right?
He's a boy named Patrick, and
Patrick, yeah.
he's named after my wife's dad, who passed away 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the little girl first, and I didn't have like a desire one way or the other as far as what I was going to have, and I just fell so in love with her. I mean, it's a weird relationship with a girl, and I was the one who wanted kids. My wife was kind of indifferent about it, but then when we had our daughter, she's like, I want another one. I was like, I don't know. I think I'm just cool with her. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I could love another one as much as I love her. And then we had my son, and it's a different thing entirely, but you know, both of them just over the moon, and it's like your heart multiplies.
Dude,
you know,
we
grows.
didn't even want kids.
Yeah.
Like, this was a complete accident.
Yeah.
And when the kid came out, I was like, oh my god, because I'm getting a vasectomy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But when I was holding him, I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, I totally get
And every day.
how someone could have like 8 kids.
Yeah.
Because this thing that you're feeling is wild. I don't know if it's selfish or not, but whatever love that you have, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so incredible. And I couldn't even read like that baby book Corduroy,
Yeah.
like without tearing up.
Yeah.
Like, I was in the hospital, like trying to read the first page, and I was like,
Don't you think it makes you a better person?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I guess that's not true of everybody, and I could
Yeah.
probably tell you that from the line of work that I do.
yeah,
But
I don't
for
know.
me, I still have places that I can improve, but it kind of cut out all the bullshit.
It makes me want to eat healthier.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
100%, yeah.
It makes me want to be around.
Yeah.
It makes me not want to yell at people on the road because I don't want to get shot.
Yeah.
So it makes me want to be around, which I guess it makes me a better person in that sense. But I think I would just like to be a good example for the kid. Like, my biggest fear is that my kid's going to be an asshole.
Yeah.
So I just want him to be kind,
Yeah.
but also to be free to be himself. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you had good examples with your parents, and
My
just-
parents are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got really lucky with my parents
Just
too.
love them as much as you can, and
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
complicated, right?
everything else is gonna be as soon as you start trying to push them down a path.
There's no control.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned with this whole process. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't driving.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I mean that's life, I think, in general.
yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for
Dude,
coming
thanks
down
for
and
having
talking
me.
to us. It was
Yeah.
great. Hopefully, you'll come back sometime.
I live right down the street.
All right.
So yeah, I'll be
Awesome.
here whenever you want me to. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.